Hello and welcome. Today we are diving deep into a hero's journey, but this isn't about dragons or distant lands. This is a journey inward. We're going to pull together the wisdom from some of the most life-changing books out there to create a practical roadmap, a guide to mastering your own inner world so you can truly change your life. You know that feeling, right? Where you're just kind of going through the motions and the days just blur into one another? Well, that's our starting point. In mythology, they'd call this the ordinary world. And look, it's a place we all know, but it is definitely not where our story has to end. So what Eckhart Tolle is describing here is something he calls ordinary unconsciousness. It's not some big dramatic crisis. It's more like a low-grade background static of just feeling a little off. It's when we're being run by these deeply ingrained habits and emotional reactions. And a lot of the time, we don't even have a clue it's happening. This is the comfort zone we're about to step out of. And this is where the real adventure kicks off. This is the call to adventure, that one crucial moment when you decide, you know what, I'm done being a passive passenger. It's the moment you choose to finally grab the steering wheel of your own life. It really boils down to this. You can't change something if you don't even know it's there. As we learn in the Four Agreements, that very first step is just becoming aware of those little voices in our head, the inner judge that's always telling us we're not good enough, and the inner victim that whispers that life is just something that happens to us. Now, this is a pretty radical idea of freedom, and it comes from something called Adlerian psychology. Basically, it argues that our past doesn't get to define our future, unless we let it. And what that means is that your life isn't just a story that happens to you. It's a story you are actively choosing to write moment by moment. Okay, so once we have that spark of awareness, that's when the real work begins. We have to face the trials. This part of the journey is all about rolling up our sleeves and mastering our internal landscape, getting a handle on the mental models that are, quite literally, creating our reality. So one of the first trials is how we think about our own abilities. Carol Dweck's work here is brilliant. She found there are really two ways to see the world. On one hand, you have a fixed mindset, which says your talent is what it is. Every challenge becomes this terrifying test you either pass or fail. But then there's the growth mindset. It sees challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to learn, to stretch, to get better. And let me tell you, that shift right there, it's an absolute game changer. Now let's look under the hood at the machinery of our minds. Daniel Kahneman tells us we basically have two operating systems. System one is our autopilot. It's fast, it's instinctive, it's emotional. Then you have system two, the pilot. It's slow, deliberate, and logical. So what's the catch? Well, we spend most of our lives running on system one. And you can see how that automatic default thinking can easily trap us right back in that fixed mindset we just talked about. So in all of these trials, what's the one monster we're always fighting? It's fear, right? But here's the secret. It's not actually a fear of failure or of what other people think. The core fear, the one that truly holds us back, is the deep down belief that we just can't handle the outcome. So the real work is building an unshakable trust in our ability to handle anything life throws at us. Okay, so rewiring our mindset is huge. But how do we make those big internal shifts actually stick in our day-to-day lives? Well, we need tools. We need systems. This next part is all about building an environment for yourself where success becomes the default setting. This right here, this is the hidden engine that runs pretty much our entire lives. Every single habit you have, good or bad, follows this super simple three-step pattern. There's a cue or a trigger that kicks off a routine or the behavior itself, which then leads to a reward. If you want to change a habit, you don't fight this loop. You just have to understand it so you can redesign it. And here is an absolutely brilliant and practical way to do that from Atomic Habits. It's called habit stacking. Instead of trying to build a new habit out of thin air, you just piggyback it onto a habit you already do. You use the momentum of something you're already doing automatically to launch a new positive behavior. It's so simple, but it is incredibly effective. Let's look at how this actually works. Notice how small and specific these are. After I pour my coffee, I'll meditate for just 1 minute. Or after I take off my work shoes, I'll just change into my workout clothes. The key here is to make the new habit so ridiculously easy and seamless that your brain can't even come up with an excuse to say no. And to make sure you're building the right habits, you need to ask yourself this question. This is the focusing question from The One Thing. Look, success isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things. This question just cuts through all the noise and forces you to find that one lead domino, the single most important action that will make everything else fall into place. All right, so we've started to rewire our mindset. We've got some powerful systems in place. Now we're ready to re-engage with the world in a new way. This is the part of the journey where we take all of our newfound skills and bring them into our relationships and our philosophy on life. You know, we so often try to just push our ideas on other people, but that almost always creates a wall of resistance. The persuasion cycle shows us a much smarter way. It all starts with truly, genuinely listening. When people feel heard, they open up, and they start to consider what you're saying. It's all about pulling people toward a conclusion with you, not pushing them there. This is such a critical skill. In any tough conversation, people get stuck on their positions. That's the what they're demanding. But great communicators know how to dig deeper to uncover the interests, the why behind the demand. If you can make the conversation feel safe, you can get to the heart of what really matters. And this idea of making a conscious choice applies to everything, even something as practical as money. On one side, you have a philosophy that says save everything, get out of debt, and build for the future. On the other, you have one that says to maximize your life experiences right now. Guess what? Neither one is right. The whole point of personal mastery isn't about finding the one correct answer. It's about having the awareness to consciously choose the path that lines up with what you truly value. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial piece of this whole puzzle. This journey of personal mastery, it's not a destination. You don't just arrive one day. It's a lifelong practice. It's a whole new way of being, where you become the master of both your inner world and your outer world. Now, I know the word surrender can sound like giving up, but it's actually the opposite. It's about letting go of that white-knuckled grip we have on our rigid plans and learning to trust the flow of life. What's amazing is that when we stop resisting so hard, life often delivers solutions that are way better than anything we could have planned. And if there is one central anchor to this entire practice, it's this idea. Think about it. All of our anxiety, all of our stress, it lives in worrying about the past or freaking out about the future. But true peace, real freedom, it's not found out there somewhere. It's found by fully showing up for the only thing that's actually real, this moment, right here, right now. And here's the beautiful paradox of it all. We spend so much time thinking we need to fix ourselves before we can be happy or successful. But the truth is, real, lasting change happens the moment we stop trying to be some perfect version of ourselves, and instead, we just start showing up with total acceptance, exactly as we are. So, we end right where we began, with a choice. This hero's journey isn't just a story to listen to. It's a life to be lived. And it doesn't start tomorrow or next week or when things finally feel perfect. It starts right now. So the only question left is, what is the one conscious choice you are going to make to begin your journey?